This is With an S, a music commentary podcast where we talk about all things Afrobeats, ranging from new music to more serious issues within the music industry. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of With an S with your Afrobeats Avengers. This is officially our first video episode, so we're super excited. Woo! And we have a special guest in our midst. We're going to get to him, but before then, my name is Deji per usual. I promised you guys, eventually I'm not going to keep saying my name. You guys
when we get to 100.
When we get to 100, no more introductions. You have to know me by then. But I'm with...
Sharon, Sharon, the best girl ever.
You won't introduce, so you just want me to...
Yeah, now go for it.
Say my own again now.
No, go for it. Say your own name.
Okay, we Bola aka Jagz. See, I didn't give you the ginger that if you introduce me, I've given to you.
And now we are with our special guest, my former boss, the CEO of Chocolate City Music, Mr. Abuchi Peter Ugwu.
Whoa!
The streets don't know, but me, I know.
Yeah, but
Streets don't know. Welcome,
Thank
Abuchi.
I feel honored that this people's first visual.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You invited me.
Yes. Wanted to start with a bang.
That's good.
So speaking of starting with a bang, I want to go straight into our first question, which is actually no. It feels like you're very notoriously private. That's number one. I looked on the internet for interviews, research, trying to find out just stuff that could help us buff up this interview, and I couldn't find it. Number one, I want to know if that's intentional. Number two, I want you to talk about growing up in Jos.
I personally believe your private life should be private.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And then the other one should be the other one.
Okay.
And I feel like it's private for a reason.
Fair.
Yeah, so I try to keep private life private. And then, because I believe once you put your gist and yourself out there, you don't have the right to complain.
Yeah.
When people that just have 200 naira to buy data come by you, you don't have a choice to do it. So, yeah, I grew up in Jos. I was born and brought up in Jos. I grew up in Jos. I went to school in Jos. I studied music in Jos as a sound engineer. Met Jesse Jagz in Jos. Then moved to Lagos. I think I moved to Lagos when I was like 18.
Interesting.
Came to hustle in Lagos, and I've been in Lagos ever since.
There was something that I found when I was doing research, and you said you took a pay cut to get into music. So what was the story before that? So where were you before that? And why were you convinced that music was something to do to the point that you were willing to take a pay cut?
I think I said I took a pay cut to take the job I have, but even music. So I think when I went to music at an early age, I started by looking as a sound engineer.
Okay.
So it was a studio. I wanted to do something with my life. I was in school. I went to University of Jos. I think I was studying insurance at that time.
Insurance?
Insurance. So did they study insurance?
Yeah, they did insurance.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
so you have diploma in insurance. After diploma in insurance, you go and do marketing, or you decide to go. But I did insurance. I can't. Yeah. I still remember a few things. I know premium now. So I studied insurance. Then, but before insurance, I think from age 10 to age 15, I was doing roadside mechanic.
Interesting. I don't know this part of your story.
I think the story just goes like this. When I was 10, I used to be very stubborn. That's the story people tell me.
you.
But I just felt my father played me. But the story the other way, that I was very stubborn. So I think when I was 10, my dad just said, get ready on Saturday. I think I was waiting for common entrance result to come out. And I think I was a nuisance in the house. My father just said, get ready on Saturday. I got ready. We went to this workshop. He left me.
Wow.
I waited for 2 hours. I didn't see my dad. So I think when my dad left me, I started fighting with somebody already. And the workshop. And so 2 hours later, I showed up to this other man that I know. And I said, what of my dad? He said, no, you've started working. Like he's my new boss.
Oh, wow.
And it was so bad that if I don't show up by 8:30, they'll send people to come and carry me from home. And they'll mess me up. So before 8:30, I'll show up at work.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I was doing that. Then I would do that, then go to school.
Okay.
Then come back. So when I got to, I think just SS2, I was like, nah, this roadside mechanical is not cool enough. Because now mechanics, they have laptop, now they send you
Yeah.
Like before, it's like you fix 504, it's screenshot. Like
There's a difference to
there's
mechanic.
difference
There's
mechanic
mechanic
now.
and there's mechanic.
You understand?
Two
Now
different
the
things. So I
mechanic
get it.
we use in the office, he sends you broadcast, he sends you invoice, sends you receipt. That was not the one.
Yeah.
He was street mechanic.
Yeah.
And it used to mess me up. So I think I learned discipline from that. Just
Mm.
knowing that come rain, come sunshine, I have
You
to
have to
show
show
up
up.
at work.
Yeah, sure.
Then doing that, then I got to SS2, and I think I was having a conversation with one of my auntie that I used to sing, and I was just like, so she was asking me, what do you want to do with your life? And I really wasn't sending mechanic at this point. I was just not feeling it. I was getting bounced by all the babes around at that age. Like, people were just not sending me. And I just felt like I needed something better for my life. And she was telling me about, oh, do you know music? In music, there's a producer, there's a sound engineer, there's this. So I was just like, oh, I would love to learn. And she said, I'll talk to this guy, Big Joe, that used to produce for Pan and Passy Paul. And he was a keyboardist. And he had like one hand, and he I think this guy is a genius.
Okay.
Because even like he plays the keyboard all through, different octave, and one of his hand is bad. So she was like, "Oh, I'll talk to this guy and see if you could work." So she spoke to him, and the guy said, "Oh, sure." Then I showed up, and then I started looking. So nobody was teaching me. I'll just show up to the studio and I'll look at the studio. So then that's how I started looking.
Fair.
Then from there, I did. Then that's how I met Jesse, because Jesse then was learning how to produce. So me and Jesse became guys. Then through that process, then I met MI, because MI used to come to the studio too. Because he just came back from America at that time. So Jesse then became my guy. And that's how, over time. And I felt like when I started learning how to be an engineer, so I used to show up and sweep the studio. So before them, Jesse and Co, they don't used to care. The studio used to be dirty. It used to be like they just don't care.
Yeah.
So when I came, so the main engineer was like, this guy is responsible. So they started giving me key. So because they would give me key, so then the Jesse and all of them became my guy.
Fair.
So overnight, Jesse would show up and he would produce MI.
Yeah.
And the whole of, at that time, they had their whole movement.
Yeah.
With the MySpace. Then because I had access to the key, then I became more valuable to them.
Fair.
So then this engineer now caught me. That I think I got to a point where I learned how to clear a file before. Then I'll go and just resend, delete all the files. So they know if I use the studio overnight, they won't catch me.
Yeah.
But then Jesse use it, they'll catch them.
Yeah.
So then that's how I became of value. Then over time, then I moved to Lagos. I think then the studio got closed at a point. After the studio got closed at a point, then MI and them Jesse had their own studio.
Okay.
Then I moved to go and start working with them. And that's how we became close.
Nice. Sharon, do you want to?
I just wanted to ask one very random question.
Yeah.
The random question is, so when you guys take the key, was that like legal?
They gave me the key legally because I'm supposed to sweep the studio. But what happened in the studio happens without approval.
So it was more than sweeping.
I
love it.
Okay, so your relationship with them blossomed, right? And then you worked with MI for like about what?
I managed him for about, I think, 10 years or so.
Okay, so what would you say is like the most important thing in starting and building like artist management? That whole artist management process, like between an artist and you, what would you say is the most important thing there?
I think very importantly, knowing the artist's goal. Because I always tell people that you might have an artist that just want to have one hit song. And that's his calling. If you know that's what he wants, your job is to help him get to that goal. And because sometimes you might meet an artist and your goal for the artist is to be like, oh, let's do O2. Arena, let's do all these things. And that's not the artist's goal. You get to a point where if chance doesn't happen, you end up being frustrated.
Yeah.
Because you want more and the artist doesn't want more. He just wants to stay at home and play PS5. So I feel like very importantly, it's like you have to know what the artist's goal is. Define what the goal is, and then people have an agreement. Then you say, hey, this is, because I believe as a manager, your job is, the way I look at artist management is, there's this whole, think about a bicycle wheel. There's the Boris, then there's the spoke. And this spoke can be recording, can be merchandise, show all around. And your job is to be the spoke that guides everything all together. So your job is to make sure this have to move at the right proportion all around. But if you don't have a goal of where you are going to, like, where do you move to?
Fair.
So I see that happens a lot. And when you have a goal, when you know that this is my goal for my life, and the guy wants to just be at home, when you get to that point, it's like, hey, guy, I love you, I care about you, but
it's time for us to.
There's a crossroad.
Yeah.
But in a situation where you are friends now, like, because you guys blossomed from just strangers to friends, if your friend was not aligned with your goal as a manager, what would you say is the best way to, like, snip
as
that?
much as your landlord is your friend, just at the end of the year, I
still spirits.
You have to pay rent. I always tell people in the office, like, work is too important to come and play at work. And I think that a lot of what you just said is, I feel like that's one of the biggest problem I feel with a lot of managers.
Yeah.
Even the younger managers. It's like, that is my wake up one day and be like, hey, I'm not feeling you. This is it. And the guy is disappointed because, like, you're my guy. I was here with you. But I'm like, the guy wants something better for his life. You can't give him the value.
Yeah.
But before you get to that point, like, you have to create a metrics in your life where you're like, what's our goal?
Yeah.
Or what's not our goal? Or sometimes I've seen people where the manager's job is just to organize babes and smoke and drink.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the artist is upset with his manager because he didn't hook him up. And I'm like, tell them that's not your job. Because if you don't create those parameters, you don't protect you people's self from yourself. So I always tell them, create that boundaries, define what your people's goals are, so it's clear.
Early on.
Well, so they should basically tell them to get the manager for babes. And
a separate one.
Separate one.
Are you seeing like PDD? Is it PDD or who? Or Snoop Dogg that pays the guy that smokes.
Yeah, it's Snoop. Yeah, Snoop.
Please. Okay.
Yeah, it's a scale of preference.
Jiggy.
I love it. Just speaking of, and I love that you actually said Snoop, because this has seemed like, not even seemed like, your story is definitely a grass to grace, and this grace we see, and don't worry, you guys can't smell him. I can smell him.
He's laughing in his laughter. You can hear the grace.
You know when someone is sitting beside you, I like
smelling like grace.
But me too, I'm trying to maintain my own state. But I mean, you've met people like Vin Diesel, you've met Ludacris, like. Yeah, a big man now. I feel like no, it's not about that. Would you say that gets would you say that ever gets old, or it's just something that you're used to right now?
I feel like you have to understand the certain things that come with the job, the certain perk that comes with the job. What you have to understand is a job. Like, you're there not because of all the glam that comes with the job. And I feel like that's where sometimes I see a lot of people get carried away without knowing that, hey, the artist is the artist. Because most of the artists we have, apart from the older ones, I'm older than most of them. But when it comes to the job, I'm here to do a job. And so you have to understand that along the way, when you meet these people, it's part of the job. So you don't forget why you're there, and then you build off there. Because if the job ends, and then you don't get all this back, sometimes people mentally go to places that it's hard for them to come back from.
Fair. That actually makes a lot of sense. And I mean, the fact that you get to meet these people as well.
Yeah.
I know that you have an office in the US.
Yeah.
So I want to see if that is, shall I say, if that links having that office in the US, and it's run by David Franklin as well.
Yeah.
So just having that office in the US and you guys trying to, shall I say, break into that market and trying to do different things with different people of note as well. So how do you, shall I say, align that with breaking into that market?
Yeah. So I think fundamentally, business-wise, if you think about the population and the growth, Nigeria is about 220 million people. Nigeria is 220 million people, and we're growing. And 70% is below the age of 30. 50% is below the age of 20. So a very young population.
Yeah.
And that's why if you see people like even down to the platform, Spotify, they're looking at Africa as the next big thing.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the young demography and people are growing, In China, they sell more older Pampers than younger Pampers. People are dying.
What?
Yeah. People are dying.
How do you know that?
Because you have to care about where people's money go.
Yeah.
I like
Same
that.
way when I tell the marketing team, once somebody start paying NEPA bill, it's not your target audience. Because they don't listen to music the way the younger people listen.
Interesting.
The younger people spend 2 hours every day listening to music. And when you understand that where we are now is about market share, we're looking for market share, we're looking for top of mind.
Yeah.
Because that time you listen to music, you stream music, that's the same time somebody's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. That's who you're fighting against. So you have to. So the reason in America, all those platforms are all in America. So how do you get the best placement? How do you get the best positioning? You have to be there. So for us, I believe that Afrobeat, where we are, is more than just Afrobeat. It's a culture. We're exporting culture.
Yeah.
When people move for school, they move with culture.
Yeah.
When people move with school, they move with all. So how are we there to position right? Because my greatest fear is that growing up, Makossa was huge.
Yeah.
But what happened to Makossa? Even reggae was like huge. But we're seeing what has happened to reggae and it has gone to dancehall. Where you see Grammy, the people winning best reggae album are all white. Grammy, they have no roots to Jamaica. They have no. But then a Jamaican artist can't win the best pop artist. So you have to balance the scale. So for me, I believe that we have to attack. We have to show up.
Yeah.
So they understand how to treat us.
Fair. I like that.
I want to switch gears just a little and talk about Oleku.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, there's a tag on that song. Say, "Don't boost on the mix." If you're not familiar, go and listen back, you hear it. And that's Don't Boost on the mix.
Now we make sense.
That's mad.
And that video, they had to drag me inside that video. They had to drag me.
Now we have to go and rewatch the video.
Bro, 100%.
I have two questions. How did that record come to life? And I also heard, like, a little birdie told me a little rumor about that song that not everybody saw the vision. I don't know if I'm allowed to say who that somebody is. Actually, I'm going to say it. Apparently, Aldo didn't see the vision at the time. Yeah. So I'm curious about that part of it. Was it a song that you were convinced about right out of the gates? Did you know that this was definitely going to be a hit? And also just mixing, like, what was that process like?
I think I really like mixing. Even now, I spend time in the studio, even the office. Like, I have a new rule that before any song comes out, it has to pass through my decks.
Okay.
Just a part of me that I like mixing. I like tricking myself. So mixing. So for people that don't understand what mixing is, it's like when there's a beat, somebody's voice is your job to bring everything together. So if you think about a pot of soup, there's somebody bringing the vegetable, somebody bringing this. You're the one that put everything at the right quantity so it sounds well. Yeah. So sometimes you hear a song in the club, it doesn't sound well. So it's not properly mixed or mastered. Yeah. So I used to do that from down to like MI's, I think, most of his albums, Ice Prince album, Jesse, I mixed and mastered most of them. And part of mixing, there's what we used to do. I think MI started this whole concept where we used to call chop and screw. And chop and screw is when you hear the song, rather than just mix it, you can cut and add. Yeah. And I think Ice Prince is one of those people that I feel like people need to give him more props than they do. Because I feel like he's the one person that pioneered this whole Wizkid, Burna Boy, that era. Because Oleku was huge.
Fair. It was a marker for that period.
New school. Yeah. Before everybody sort of showed up. And Ice Prince was the one person that he was doing MC before he was. Backstory, when I was talking about my engineering days in Jos, Ice Prince had the #1 song on the radio, bigger than even Emma and everybody. Oh, wow. Yeah, when we started the movement. So Ice Prince has been consistent. So I think the first Saz worked on part of the song, then Jesse reworked on the song, and then me, Brymo, all of us, we used to squat with MI. And we had the studio in the house, in MI's house. So I used to voice them and I mix. When I heard the song, I was so convinced about the song. Sometimes when you hear some songs, you have that instinct feeling. Yeah. You know there's a hit. And most people are like, nah, this song is too slow. I was just like, nah.
This is jam.
And few songs I've worked on. I worked on Davido. I did Dami, Duro. I did few,
Interesting. I didn't know that too.
At that time, they used to pay me 2K. 2,000 naira for
to
me.
mix.
Yeah.
Baba, just quickly mix this one for me. I beg.
2K.
Or 2K. So daily
Some
2K.
big artists, I will chase them and they won't pay me.
What could
Damn
2K?
it.
What was 2K even going to buy at that
2K
time?
at that time. 2K was
No, at
like
that time, 2K.
No, it was
one or
something,
two.
but like a
2K
meal.
was
$1 or $2.
$10 now. $10
one or
yeah,
two.
about 20K now.
Phew.
That's still.
But few people like Davido, shout out to Davido, he was paying me.
Well, yeah.
His father was the one paying. They were giving me checks. But at least they were paying me well.
Fair enough.
Then I had Timaya. Timaya used to pay me well.
Okay. Shout out to Maya.
Those two
Yeah.
people.
They have their respect.
Yeah.
Um,
I have some other people. I can't call their name. I work for them days. They just put me on this comment.
offline.
Don't worry. Yeah.
Something I want to talk about as well. I mean, a core part of your job is finding talent.
Yeah.
You know, investing in talent. I've heard you talk about things you're looking for when you sign an artist. So obviously talent, how good they are musically, social media presence, marketability, their work ethic, general stuff. What I'm curious about is what things have made you not sign an artist? So like you've been at the table, this person seems like they have a lot going for them, but then eventually you're just like, no, your gut, something about your guts is like, I'm not feeling this guy. So what sorts of things are those that make you not want to sign an artist?
I think number one, I go a lot with my gut feeling.
Okay.
There's some gut feeling. Like the day I met Young John, I just told I'd be head of music, send him a contract.
Immediately.
She was like, oh, I said no. Because I just asked her, are you sure? She said yes. I said, so why are we waiting?
You know, it's funny, on this podcast, I've spoken about, because I was around when he was right beside. I didn't get to that first, I won't lie to you.
Yeah, I remember 80% of the team didn't get it.
Just like,
Music.
Young John.
They didn't get it.
The producer, Young John, the wicked producer.
A lot of the team were like, hey, even, sorry to call up my head of A&R. I was like, are you sure? But I was just like, no, let's go. And I feel like sometimes you just get that gut feeling. And
Yep.
like,
Was it the music primarily that drove it for you?
nah, it's just a feeling. Like, I feel like maybe I need to now pay attention and try to break it down. But like when you get that feeling, you're just like, that's how I feel even with some music. I'm just like, this will work.
Have there been artists where your gut feeling was like, things seem good on the surface, but there's something about this guy that is just not clicking with me?
Awesome, yeah. Few. I've been in those situations. And sometimes, look, those ones I can pinpoint. Okay. Because no matter how great you are, and if you have this complex where everybody around me screwed me off, my last team, or you're the cent, I won't touch you. Because that same way my gist will go.
Yeah.
And again, because I always tell, like the analogy I used to say, like, if you see this vest, this flower vest, the artist is the flower. Everybody is the hard work around it that make it blossom.
Yeah.
So people see the artist. They don't see the whole work. So if you have an artist that is always going to say, hey, I'm not growing because of this, and you're not checking yourself, that's a red flag for me. And then drive is very important.
Okay.
Because you have to understand that we've passed the era of, like recently I've been researching, there's some artists that, I found an artist that have 1 billion subscribers, billion streams on Spotify, and he's not signed to any major.
Well, Bad Bunny?
No.
Is he an Indian artist?
No. Nick D is Canadian.
Huh.
Okay.
And then if you see artists like Price Connie, Connie Price or something, he has almost that number. And they are not signed because there's a new wave of artists that are using technology to their advantage.
Yeah. I think Connie Price I know from TikTok.
Price,
from
and
TikTok.
Look at, he has almost 1 billion streams.
Yeah.
Because he understands the power of the TikTok. And you have to understand that anybody that take advantage of the technology of their time always win.
Yeah.
People that took advantage of radio, people that took advantage of TV. The whole MTV was built around TV. Because TV showed up, audio was working, then TV showed up, MTV created MTV.
Yeah.
They blossom.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I see artists that are willing to work hard and take advantage of certain things, I'm excited. I want to work with them. But if I see artists that, because sometimes talent is not everything, I always tell people. Because if you think about down to Bob Marley, people don't understand that there was Bob Marley and the Wheelers. The Wheelers left Bob Marley because they said he sold out. So as much as you think about Bob Marley's music, that's the water version from Boy Who Used to Be. But he's the one that we all talk about how he's a genius.
Yeah.
But because he was willing to move with the time and what was happening.
Yeah.
So if an artist is talking his way, for me, it's pass. No matter how talented that
Fair enough.
How do you control, like, when an artist is stuck on their own music? Like, I want this particular one. I don't want you to touch this. I don't want this person to work on this. Like in that kind of situation, how do you manage such?
To be honest, it's a battle we're still fighting up to now. I won't lie to you. Because part of the goal for me is like I want to create a creative heaven where artists could create.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't have unlimited resources not to I'm just always getting it wrong. We have to get to like 1, 2 right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like always give up, take. We always have conversation. We always battle.
Mm-hmm.
We always be. Sometimes I'll just be like, I know it won't work, but we'll let you go. We'll fail and come back. Or sometimes we're right, we'll go and we'll fail, we'll come back.
Okay.
So sometimes it's give or take. We always balance it both ways.
Yeah.
But sometimes a few parameters we try to do and say, hey, is this release going to be, do we want this release to be huge?
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be huge, there's a tempo that people play around that time. Because DJs are wonderful. But before we try and mix.
Yeah.
DJs now, they don't want to mix.
Facts.
They are not mixing all those things.
They're not interested.
If your song doesn't fit the tempo of the songs that are ringing at the moment,
forget about
it. They won't put your song on that playlist.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about it. Okay, what's the tempo of this song? So regardless what you want to do,
maybe
if the tempo is very slow, we'll just say, okay, this is we have a certain goal aligned.
Yeah.
But if you want a pop hit, what's the tempo of the pop hit happening? What's the format? So a few things. For example, I could talk about like Don Jazzy now, he's at 100 tempo-wise on his song. But there was a time where Don Jazzy took us to 130 tempo. And fat music has to be. But when you dissect all the songs he brings out, you see he has an arrangement. This has to be space, then there's a hook. Then if a DJ is playing at a start, Whiskey is going to enter next.
Yeah.
Because of the way the format is. So it's easy. So if you want to create a song that pops that way, those are a few formats you have to create. So you can't just say, okay, I'm going to move my tempo to 200 because the spirit leads. No DJ will.
That's interesting. I'll follow up on that later on. I have a question, but
yeah, I just have one more question relating to this somehow. So now today, right?
Yeah.
Like Chocolate City has like probably the second biggest Afrobeat song, right?
Yeah.
So what are some lessons that you've learned from that? Or what are some lessons that you can share to the public?
I've learned a lot of lessons.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still learning, but it depends on in relation to what.
I mean, just generally.
Just generally. Like, for instance now, right? Before this happened, there was something.
Yeah.
So after that happened, what did you guys say? Oh, we should have done this then to have gotten this result. Or even if we did this then, we wouldn't have gotten this result. So what are some things you've just gathered post that?
Take advantage of trends. Take advantage of TikTok. TikTok has been a great tool for us.
Yeah.
Take advantage. I remember when I took over, we'll do a release, we won't have one playlist support.
Those days.
Even if you pitch.
Even though
PTSD, don't
So I took over, we'll pitch. Release, no one playlist.
And IB will be there screaming, what we doing? Why don't we have any playlists?
You see, he can tell you. So like it was, and then I'll see like certain songs that just don't hit it.
Yeah.
They'll have 40 playlists. And I'll just be like, I got to the point where I had to hire people just for playlists.
Yeah.
Damn.
But so I've just learned to, I think the one thing I'll tell people is learn to unlearn and learn to learn. So it's not like what you know before. It's like what's working. How do I learn and learn to? So then we start building a team. We start saying, okay, if I want playlist, and I'm realizing now that no matter how many playlists you have, if I have a hit without playlist, the next week I'm going to have 500 playlists.
They'll pick it up.
So do I want to pitch ahead of time and tell my artists you must follow this rule? Or will I give them creative freedom to do? And so sometimes give and take. So you just have to learn how to balance. So number one, I have to learn and learn. Number two, I think like you have to study the greats, people that are doing it.
Yeah.
Like Maven are killing it. I studied Don Jazzy closely. My eyes on him.
That's a close marking.
Close marking.
Especially after around 140 million. How many that did it?
Like after that round,
I
was telling Tega, I say, I'm going to shop to people's office. Teach me everything. Like Burna Boy's team, they know. I'm asking questions all the time.
Yeah.
Even David's team, like everybody that is doing better than I am.
Yeah.
Even people that I'm doing better than, that they know. Like, for example, Dapper is doing amazing. He used to manage Ice Press.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, he managed Ice Prince, so we worked closely. But yeah, I show up with him. I'm like, guy, I need this. Whatever you're doing, show me how you're doing the stream. Like, you're on every cover. Like, I'm humble. Like, I don't care. I'm learning and I'm learning.
Even with brand new artists too, like.
So I'm learning and I'm learning. So I think that sometimes people feel like, oh no, just be in your corner. Nah, not me.
I actually like what you just said, because the one thing I was going to ask you, and when I knew you were coming on, that was the one thing that was ringing in my ear, was just how you, should I say, what keeps you motivated? But what you've been saying since kind of pushes that. I want to add something to that. Apart from that motivation and, of course, wanting to be better, wanting to get to the top, and still studying people and, should I say, improving.
Yeah.
What would you say is the next step for you and for Chocolate City as well? So both of them together.
Yeah. So when I took over, I said the first few years was going to be, so think about football. The first few years is going to be, the analogy was, we're going to stabilize the ship. Then the next phase is we're going to attack.
Yeah.
So now we're entering the attack realm. So it's like, how do I roll out more artists cheaper than what the market is asking? And how do I give creative the opportunity to compete? So you don't need to, like, you can be yourself, but still be, because at the end of the day, it's like, podcast is happening. TikTok is happening. Content is happening. Music is happening. But what's happening is like the music share is dropping, because people on Apple Music is either you play music or you play the podcast.
Yeah.
Or people, so the market is, but we want to create a system where if an artist gets to a point where it's like, yeah, I don't want to sing today, you have enough resources. So, okay, I can fund my lifestyle and I can go and do podcast tomorrow. I can do this. So for me, that's the goal and that's the motivation. And we want to be able to give more talent the opportunity to try and be who you want to be. Like, the problem we find, and I always tell people that I believe that Nigeria is more than Afrobeat. Is I imagine if the UK people forced Adele to sing like the normal UK pop artist, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Then they'll miss Adele moment.
Yeah.
Or if, like I heard Beyonce on the New Country record, like her new album, it was a movement for her because she can sing. Fundamentally, this is who she is. She's not coming to be Mary Cyrus. She's not trying to be a different artist.
Yeah.
So also, like, that's the goal. We want to get to that point where we have deep pockets to try new things without my bosses calling me.
There's one theory that I really want to talk to you about before you leave. And it was in an interview where you spoke about 3 stages of an artist's development. The first one being the difficult stage where nobody cares about you. The second one being the I'm your mate stage. So that's when he's looking at you eye to eye because he's making money now. And the third one being, forgive my language, the fuck you stage.
Yeah.
How do you handle all 3 stages? How do you balance, I guess, just like your management style just in every one of those stages?
So, even in the office now, when we build artist stages, I group them based on that. So the first stage is the Dobale stage.
The Dobale stage.
Where the artist shows up and lie down and say, hey, anything you want.
I'll do.
Always.
Just very quickly before you go, what stage is Black Bones in?
I cannot say.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go on, please.
No, I said the first stage is Dobale. Anything you want, I'll do. Don't worry, I'll bring my parents to beg you. Don't worry. They might be like proud. Oh, I want this. I want my master this. They'll be like, don't worry, anything. Then the second stage is like, nah, I don't want that single. Nah, I'm not feeling it. You call the artist, he won't pick. Then the manager will look for you.
If we're going to collect the end.
You call them, they won't pick. Or they'll just be like, or maybe he asks you, just come to me and say, oh, my babe feels like. And you're like,
who has that one?
Where are all these people? What was this journey? And they're like, just not feeling it. But they'll still respond to you.
Yeah.
And the last stage is fuck you stage. That's like you'll be looking for an artist for a whole week, you won't see the artist. And the only time the artist calls you is when they want the budget.
Fairs.
Because they know you have to approve the budget.
Yeah.
They call you. Or you book a show, then the artist says, I just don't feel like I don't want to do club show again. have you seen Ashake? I want to be like that. It's like, yeah, but Ashake has this song you don't have. And they're like, but for us, it's just, for me, I say all these things just a lever to check what the artist is in their life.
Okay.
Because you have to understand it's more about psychology.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that we're selling a product that is not like water or a soft drink that I have to keep it in a 70 degree or 80 degree. You might keep an artist in a cold temperature, it reacts differently than you say. So what we normally do is once an artist starts moving from the first stage to the second stage, we have a different conversation. Once it's moving to the last stage, most times we're like, okay, let's renew our contract. Let's have a conversation. Let's build a team around you. So now you have more control. So now we're partners.
Yeah.
So if you mess up, you can say it.
Yeah.
So you understand that your decisions have consequences.
Yeah.
So all those levers just help me know where this person is. How do we add? How do we subtract? How do we move? Because I've seen a lot of artists in just this my career, short career, in, for example, Chocolate City. I've seen where an artist just wakes up and tweet and say, I'm no more with this label.
Just
It's
like
valid
that.
contracts. Yes. 2 of them back to back. And they're my guys. And one happened. Let me spill this one. Jesse woke up and tweeted and said, I'm no more doing Chocolate City. I called him. I was like, I called his manager. I'm like, Shola, what happened? I saw you in the morning. I was like, you know, this is how we roll. He said, when the general makes up his mind, we roll. I'm like, oh, Brian, we slept in the same house. Like, you couldn't have told us. Like, and then just seeing what happened after.
Yeah.
But I just felt like at that time, we should have had the conversation where it's like, what do you want? Do you want creative freedom? Let me give you creative freedom. Why the business still runs the way the business should run.
Yeah.
Like, because the same things, we have like about 80 staff.
Yeah.
The certain things we do, you don't have the resources and the power to do. Let's just manage the relationship. So that it just helps me. Once we get to a certain way, we always meet. Even if your contract is not up, we edit and keep on going. Because at the end of the day, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to give and take.
Yeah. I like that motivation, actually, especially because people are just going to be going through, and when you can actually communicate with them efficiently as you go, and they also feel like they're part of that process, because it's not just about when the contract ends, it's about, okay, we're getting to this phase. Fact that you've noticed that as well, and you're coming to sit on the table and speak with me and actually see, okay, where do you envision yourself, blah, blah, blah. I think those things are very important as well. So I actually like what you're saying, where you're coming from, 100%.
I think I just want to close finally, and this is a very short question. What excites you to get up in the morning and keep going? Because I know the music industry is tough. So what still excites you to keep staying on this process?
I don't want to be poor. People are different, but if I think about where I'm coming from, I'm just like, I don't know.
When you think about how you could have been a mechanic.
I want to be a baller.
When I think about that, I'm like, hell no.
We'll find a hit song by force.
Like my staff knows. Like, I'm the first to come to work, I'm the last to leave.
True.
I remember that. Like, I'm telling them, like I had to pay someone, like I was telling the head of TikTok in my office. I had to look for, someone was online, was saying, hey, you got this new young boy. The boy transformed his own TikTok. And so I DM'd the guy and I said, hey, will you teach me? The guy was like, hey. He charged me like about $1,000 and he's teaching me. And I'm like, so now when I shop in TikTok meeting in the office, they know. Them too, they have gone through research. Because it's like when I look at the trend, like most of the conversion is coming from TikTok.
Yeah.
So why am I not winning in that game? So like when I think about it, I think about the bottom line. And for me, it's like we have the average age in the office is 25. And when the music, the agency, the whole is about, we have a lot of staff. And if I think about it and say, hey, these people we have to contribute our own quota to Nigeria. Yeah. To say, though some people will leave you.
Though some people will leave you.
No subs.
In the heat.
In the heat. True life story. So before I go, let me just tell you.
Please. That was good to my
So when I took over, I came, I looked at the balance sheet. I called meeting. I said, guys, aside from the top management, I said, this company has been doing great. We need to take it to the next level. We have to be ambitious. The people before me, I have to give them credit. They did a great job. For us to even have a business stick to it. So I'm like, hey, this is my ambition. And I might have to make a few changes, cut. But management team was like, we believe in you. Don't worry. I send a memo, we cut down salary 50%. The next 2 days, the head of account reached out to me and said, I really like you. I like your vision. But I'm going to leave. I said, no, but you understand. The guy left me.
Hey.
That's why I lost like the top. So I showed down. That's how people just started deciding, one after the other. Some of them I'll explain to them and say, hey, this is people like this one. I'll explain to them and say, hey, this is what the goal is. This is where we go. I won't push them. I say, And for example, this one here, he did like the whole Blackbone like album listing, great concept. I love that. This is where we should go. I was excited. Next week, I was just like, my mental health. I'm going through a lot. Mentally, I just need time by myself.
Wow.
Let me just say. The Chocolate City from back then is very different from the Chocolate City today. And I wish, honestly, to be honest with you, now that we're having this conversation, I wish I could have stuck around longer.
Okay. I beg you.
I wish.
I'm like, guys, please, tell me no. Let me tell you one day what happened. I was like, no, I believe this other stuff. I believed in you. This is what the goal. She was like, nah, I'm tired of music business. I just want to take a break. And I just checked my WhatsApp. Another music exec out of the country just say, hey, can you help me? One of your staff wants to move to us.
Of course.
Hey.
What do you think? And this staff was boboing me to my eye.
I beg, what did you say?
I just said, I said, oh, what's the price range? They said they're paying her in dollars. It's going to be this. I was like, oh, great. No, I was happy. I recommended her because I have another staff that during that time just came my mail. Yes, I say, I have to be honest with you. I'm about to get married. He said, you're paying me this. I'm moving to this place. You're paying me ×4. And my marriage is happening soon, blah, blah, blah. I won't go if you pay me what they're offering me. This is my employment letter. I just looked at her. I said, I'll miss you.
And that's fair enough.
But I can't.
I can't pay you now.
I can't afford it. I wished him well.
Yeah.
He said, I'll miss you.
I actually would miss him. I told him he left. But some of them are coming back. But we all know grudges. And we always look for talent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the business now.
Yeah, that's the business.
Even with artists, like that's the business.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody comes, everybody goes.
Even most of the artists that left are coming back. And I'm just like, open arms.
Yeah.
But the contract might be different. Open arms.
Open arms.
Honestly, this has been awesome. Like a proper reunion. I don't think I've seen Abuchi in about 3 years. It's the first time. I have. I'm not going to lie.
But it seems like you guys had
a lot of shame.
It seems like you guys had a good relationship.
No, it's because
I can't imagine talking to my last boss.
No,
Why'd you say like that?
You know the thing with Abuchi, something I noticed is that he genuinely doesn't hold grudges. If the door was open at one point, he doesn't close it. And it's something I really admire. It's one of those things that helps you in the industry. But yeah, thank you so much for coming, Abuchi. We appreciate this. This was so fun. Once again, you guys know the drill now. You know where to find us at With an S Pod. Everyone on social media, Instagram, Twitter. You can also use the hashtag With an S Pod. And also shout out to Spotify for putting us on. Clap for Spotify.
Give me more placement. Spotify, give me more placement.
We'll try. But
our
shout out.
numbers on Spotify has grown. Like
mad.
Literally like about 400%.
Like mad. Like Young John specifically. But
Young John, Black, even down to the younger ones. The numbers have tripled.
Awesome.
Jiggy, my namesake. Tell me he has namesake. Don't worry.
But yeah, shout out to Spotify for seeing the vision. As per usual, guys, we'll see you when we see you. But until then, peace.
Peace out.